Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep to completely demystify the hidden math of neural networks. We're going to take something that literally everyone in modern deep learning just takes for granted, and we're going to crack it wide open. If you're looking to move past just being a casual framework user and want to actually master the raw mechanics of your models, you are definitely in the right place. But first, I've got to ask you a question. It's one that students of deep learning almost always ask once they're forced to actually do the math. If PyTorch or TensorFlow automatically calculates all of your gradients with a single beautiful line of code, loss-stop backward, why on earth would you ever write them out manually? Are we just torturing ourselves for the sake of, intellectual curiosity? Actually, no. Relying blindly on that single line of code is incredibly dangerous. And to really understand why, we need to look at a famous warning from Andrej Karpathy. He states it perfectly. Backpropagation is a leaky abstraction. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, a leaky abstraction means that the underlying complexity of a system just can't be completely hidden by the shiny tool you're using. You might think you can just stack these arbitrary Lego blocks of differentiable functions together, cross your fingers, call your backprop function, and assume the framework will magically make them learn. But it won't. The mathematical realities will always bleed through. And if you don't understand the internal math, you're essentially going to shoot yourself in the foot.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The leaky abstraction.
To really appreciate how much we take for granted today, let's do a super quick history lesson on how we even arrived at this black box era. 10 to 15 years ago, writing your backward pass by hand was just standard practice. Way back in 2006, researchers were grinding out manual matrix calculus in C. By 2010, they were writing massive MATLAB scripts for restricted Boltzmann machines, painstakingly tracking every single gradient. Even in 2014, if you were building, say, an image-text embedding model, you wrote out the forward pass in Python and NumPy, and then you manually coded the chain rule for the backward pass. You literally had to use a gradient checker just to make sure your math was right. But today everyone just calls loss.backward. And yeah, it's incredibly convenient. But by hiding the math, we've kind of lost this intuitive mechanical understanding of our own networks. Which brings us to Section 2, bugs in the black box. See, that loss of understanding leads directly to real-world engineering pain. When that abstraction leaks, quiet, nasty bugs infest our black boxes. Here are just a few of the devastating dangers of ignoring the math. First, if you use sigmoid activations and initialize your weights just a bit too large, your gradients will vanish. The signal literally just dies. Or, if you're using vanilla recurrent neural networks, the backward pass multiplies the exact same matrix over and over through time. If the largest eigenvalue is greater than 1, bam, your gradients violently explode to infinity. Or consider this super subtle bug Karpathy found in a really popular deep Q-learning codebase. The author wanted to clip large errors to be robust to outliers, right? So they used a value clipping function on the raw loss. But if you know your backprop, you know that clipping a value sets its local gradient to exactly 0. They accidentally forced the entire network to completely ignore outlier data during training. If they just understood the underlying math, they would have used a Huber loss instead. And perhaps the most visceral example of this is the dead ReLU. A ReLU activation basically thresholds neurons at 0. If a bad weight initialization, or honestly, even just a massive learning rate update, knocks a neuron's output to 0 or below across your entire training set, that neuron will never, ever get a gradient signal again. It permanently dies. As Karpathy so vividly describes it, it suffers permanent, irrecoverable brain damage. Think about that. You could have a network where 40% of the neurons are silently dead, doing absolutely nothing, and the framework won't even warn you. So how do we actually protect ourselves from these hidden disasters? Well, we have to peel the onion. We're going to completely abandon PyTorch's autograd engine for a minute. We're going to stop treating the framework like it's magic, and we're going to build profound intuition by writing out the backward pass manually, tensor by tensor. Let's get right into the mechanics. Section 3, unrolling the backward pass. We're going to take a forward pass and break it down into its smallest, absolute, most atomic mathematical pieces and trace the gradient as it flows backwards. The logical sequence is actually incredibly beautiful once you map it out. Step 1, we analytically calculate the gradient for the cross-entropy loss. Step 2, we flow that gradient backward through our softmax and linear layers. This involves a lot of matrix multiplications and matching up tensor shapes by transposing weight matrices. Step 3, we tackle the absolute beast that is batch normalization, carefully tracking the gradient through the means, the variances, and the Bessel corrections. And finally, step 4, the gradient successfully reaches our weights and biases, and we can update the actual parameters. Now, what's really interesting here is that as you manually write out these steps, this stunning mathematical duality emerges. Whenever you have a broadcasting operation in the forward pass, which just means a single variable is replicated across a tensor, the backward pass for that variable will always be a sum operation. And conversely, if you sum values together in the forward pass, the backward pass will simply copy or broadcast that exact gradient to all of those connected variables.
Take simple addition, for example. If you add a bias vector to a matrix of hidden states, how does the gradient actually flow backwards? Well, addition is simply a router of gradients. Whatever gradient signal arrives at that addition node from the loss function gets routed equally, directly, and completely unchanged to all the inputs that participated in the addition. It is mathematically so elegant.
Moving on to my absolute favorite part, Section 4, the push and pull. Seriously, the best part of cracking open this math is when we translate raw tensor calculus into a super intuitive framework of physical forces. When you analytically derive the gradient of the cross-entropy loss with respect to the output logits, the resulting formula is shockingly simple. You just take your predicted probabilities, and for the single correct target class, you subtract 1. That is it. Karpathy offers a completely brilliant metaphor here. He says to think of the neural net now as a massive pulley system. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that pulley system operates in practice. The gradients act as a literal physical push and pull. If your network predicts an incorrect character, its gradient force is a positive number equal to its probability. Basically, it's being pulled down. But for the correct target character, the math is the probability minus 1. That creates a negative gradient, acting as a force pulling up on the correct answer. And the sheer strength of this push and pull is completely proportional to how wrong the network is. So if it incorrectly assigned a massive probability to the wrong answer, the downward pull on that wrong answer is going to be huge. Here's the kicker. If you add up all the gradient forces in a single prediction row, so all the pulls down on the wrong answers and the one big pull up on the correct answer, the sum is precisely 0. The repulsion and the attraction are perfectly equalized. The tension in the entire pulley system is completely balanced. It's exactly this mathematical tension that travels backwards through the linear layers, through the batch norm, literally tugging on the weights and biases until they slowly give in, which, when you think about it, is exactly what training a neural network actually is. All right, let's wrap this up. Section 5, becoming a backprop ninja. So let's bring this all together. What happens when you actually put in the grueling work of deriving these matrices and coding the chain rule by hand? Well, you elevate your skills. You graduate to an entirely new level. Why endure all this manual math? Because you gain complete, explicit understanding of the frameworks you use every single day. You protect your models from subtle, silent bugs like dead neurons or clipped gradients that are caused by blind trust. You gain the ability to confidently debug complex models because you aren't just guessing what the black box is doing anymore. And honestly, most importantly, you replace abstract magic with an intuitive, mechanical framework. You stop seeing arbitrary code and you start seeing pulleys, routers, and actual physical forces. By peeling back that leaky abstraction, you emerge as a vastly stronger engineer. You're no longer just the naive user crossing your fingers and hoping things just work. No, you are now the buff doge of backpropagation. You have literal ninja-level mastery over the tensors flowing through your system. Yes, obviously, in the real world, you're going to go right back to using PyTorch's autograd engine for efficiency. But your perspective, it'll be forever changed. So I'll leave you with this. Next time you write lost dot backward, will you blindly trust the magic, or will you know exactly which pulleys are shifting in the dark? Thanks so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me. Keep learning, keep questioning those abstractions, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.